Unbelievable! That is a dream goal!
They found it! They finally found the goal they were looking for!
What a finish that is! Do not scratch your eyes! This is really happening! Hello everyone, welcome to the Game in Frame live stream. I'm Josh Pratt with Joshua Jokru on camera. We're at Joseph Fosina Field for New York International versus New York Athletic Club in the American Premier Soccer League Metropolitan. Tonight could be a hugely impactful evening in the relegation battle. New York Athletic Club sit rooted to the bottom of the table in a desperate run of form. They've lost their last 7 games. They climbed a mountain last weekend to come back from 3-0 down against fellow relegation candidate Zoom Snyder, only to be pushed back down that hill by a late Mubarak Oro winner for Zoom. That result means the pressure is really beginning to mount on Nyack. However, they have been given a big boost by a result earlier today, which isn't reflected on this table yet, but Richmond County in the 4 o'clock kickoff beating Central Park Rangers 6-0, absolutely hammering them. So CPR are still on 8 points. So if Nyack can win tonight, then they are out of the automatic relegation spot. At the very least, they would stay behind Zoom Snyder, whatever Zoom's result is. And they are also kicking off at 7:30 tonight. We're going to have that. We also have that one on Game of Frame. You can watch that one on our YouTube channel too. But regardless of Zoom's result, if Nyack win, Zoom will still stay clear of the relegation because they have the head-to-head. But it's an evening in which a lot could shift in the bottom of the table. And whilst Nyack's hopes were dashed late last weekend, New York Internationals were kindled on Wednesday night with a remarkable late comeback against the Greek Americans. 2 goals in the final 10 minutes salvaged an unlikely and priceless point for the Lions. And boy did they need it. 8 defeats in their last 11 APSL games had left International looking anxiously over their shoulder. But holding the front runners to a draw would have done a world of good for their self-belief. And tonight is an opportunity for the Lions to open what would likely be an unassailable safety margin from the relegation zone if they can beat Nyack. But for Athletic, it's the opposite end of the stick. They are running out of games that realistically look winnable for them to pull themselves out of the mess that they're in. When these teams met in full, Nyack led New York International for nearly an hour before Olowin and Vermeulen scored in the space of 3 minutes to turn the game on its head. And as I said, we've got Zoom Snyder kicking off at the same time as well, so both those games happening simultaneously. Very impactful evening for the bottom of the table as our teams line up. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back shortly with the kickoff. Walk out. And out come our teams. New York International in black, Nyack in red. This is New York International, who are technically home today, although regular viewers will know they play their home matches typically at Jack McManus Field. I know the permits are a little tricky at the moment there in March, so that's why they've travelled up north, actually more in Nyack's neck of the wood. Big difference between these two teams, and their varying fortunes has been the record against the bottom four. New York International have won 3 and drawn 1, so the majority of their points against other teams in the bottom half of the table, and Nyack on the other hand have won just a single one and lost their other 4, and all those defeats have been by fine margins, single goals, and all those goals conceded in the final 30 minutes. So I'll look ruefully at the key moments that have cost them in games and left them in this predicament, but they still have time to salvage the situation. This is a good opportunity for them, or will New York International put their relegation worries just about behind them. And you have to remember, New York International promoted this season, so just survival in your first season in the APSL is an achievement in and of itself. Almost every club that has been promoted from the CSL to the APSL have finished in and around the relegation zone. It's a big step up. What we've also usually seen is teams that do survive that first season have a good platform to build on. Look at Richmond County, who survived on the final day last year, and with their victory over CPR have moved temporarily, at least, within 5 points of the playoff spots. New York International will get us underway here. And we're off. A lot could shift in the relegation battle tonight. Zoom Snyder playing at the same time against Leros. They are in the thick of it. Central Park Rangers continued their very difficult spring early today, which will be a boost to all the other teams in and around the relegation scrap. Relatively familiar lineup for New York Internationals. A few newcomers in there. Eric Tanada, one who actually I thought was impressive against the Pansiaprins despite them losing. And Sané also someone who impressed me. Not someone signed in 2026, but showed lots of composure on the ball, marshalled the defence. It's going to be sent all the way back to Gary Philpott. In front of him is Vincent Sané and John Stevens. There's Sané. Sadafif. German crossfield by Sané. Ball was a little bit too high for his left back on the far side. Back in Nyack's possession. Dimopolis out to Kene. And just getting my final bearing on how the teams line out. We always get the information very close to kick-off. And got most of these starters down. Once I have them all, I'll give you both teams how they're lining up in terms of formation. Long pitch here at Forcina Field. Beautiful surface as well. Shkreli. And Shkreli scored Nayak's lone goal against International when the two met in full. Bit of a hospital ball to Nashim, but he brought it down well, kept his head. A little loose, and the International looked to exploit. It was a probing ball forwards. Cut out before it could cause too much trouble. Now to Salzburg, got a brace last week in the comeback of Nayak against Zoom, which did heartbreakingly collapse at the end. Searching ball across towards Salzburg. It was a tricky angle. He caught it with a good strike though. And I might have been a little disappointed he didn't hit the target. Was obviously searching for that far post. First flash of goal for either side. And Gary Philpott already making some opinions known to the referee. Stevens, Tanada, Anderson, Tanada again. Stevens letting it run all the way back to Gary Philpott. Philpott stroking out to Tanada. Well played out of the press by the Lions. Sent down the channel. Cutner got his feet in a muddle and loses it. Turned over immediately though, in the middle by Anderson. There, Vattel gets it back again. Vattel, one of the other new signings in the starting 11 for International tonight. Purchased over the winter. I'll say purchased, not sure of any money change sounds or not, but you get my gist. That's an interesting ball down the line. It looks offside, and no hesitation from the linesman. Emmanuel Denic scampering after it. But I think he was a foot or two early there. And early score update from Jack McManus, Roosevelt Island. Sim Snyder have taken the lead against Leros. That's bad news for both of these teams. They kicked off at the same time, so of course a lot of football left to be played here. Afif cutting inside. They have Vattel whipping in a dead ball towards the far post. And all alone back there was Christoph Cutner, who I think was caught in two minds about whether to bring that down or try and head it in. And it ended up being a very tame touch. That was neither here nor there. Wasted opportunity. He had enough time. Beautiful ball in by Eric Tanada. German forwards towards Cutner, who is going to have that ball land in his feet, and he's past Kelly, goes into the box, went down, referee waving his hands immediately to say no penalty. I didn't get a clean look from here about whether there was contact or not. Anderson, positive first touch, cutting to the byline, sends it across. couldn't pick out one of the black shirts queuing up in there, but alarm bells ringing for Nyack. New York International finding joy down the left flank already. The left flank of Nyack's back line. Sent on the line is Sadafif, who scored the 93rd minute equaliser against the Greeks in the middle of the week for New York International. What a story that was. Azuma heavy with his touch, and one back by Linfield. Sadafif. Stevens. Rocker with a combative tackle ends up with the Lions again, who are getting plenty of possession now. Driven down the line by Alejandro Sol. Excuse me. Cutting up. Floats it towards the far post. Eric Tanada is back there, took a swing at it. And I'm not sure if he volleyed that. I think with the direction the ball went, it might have been a Nyack player who got the touch, or perhaps Tanada took the strike. Or sorry, that was Leia Vitale who took the strike, and it might have cannoned off of a Nyack player's shins as they closed him down. Eric Anderson. Tame ball into the hands of Dimopoulos. Well, got the bearing now with all our starters. So for New York International, it's Gary Philpott in goal. In front of him, John Stevens, and Ensa Sane, Alejandro Sol on the left flank, Eric Tanada on the right flank, Eric Anderson and Sadafif, the defensive midfielders. Lea Vitale in front of them in the 10. And then on the right wing, we have Gurian Linfield. On the left flank, Yusuf Afif, and leading the line, Christoph Kutner. And for Nyack, Vasilios Dimopoulos in goal, Shrukeli and Nashim in front of him, Jack Moher the right back, Kene the left back, Tony Rocha and Humber Ferrer in front of him, Nike Zuma in the number 10, Leighton Purchase on the right flank, Ali Salzberg on the left, and Nemanja Denic at centre forwards. The last two seasons Nike have been embroiled in the relegation battle, so both their seasons in the division since being promoted back from the Cosmopolitan Soccer League. And it was Nemanja Denic who in 2024 kept them from avoiding the drop. 83rd minute diving header, and it might be him about to have an impact now. Good recovery by Saul. That game against Suffolk County, who were starting that final day of the season bottom against Nyack, who sat just a few points above them, and Nyack managed to salvage a point to prevent Suffolk from leapfrogging them on the final day. Everything you could have hoped for from relegation drama. Kene forced all the way back to Dimopoulos. Was awkward for the keeper. There was some threat of rain tonight for the time being, other than a brief shower before kick-off. Rain has been pretty light. Loose in the middle by Yusuf Afif. Sane restores order. Calmly done. In the middle by Anderson. but then lost by Yusuf Afif again. That takes a deflection off of Anderson. Sané hasn't really cleared that either. Salzburg gives it back to Tony Rocker. Scored a brilliant strike from range last weekend. Nashim floats it, well, more drives it over the top. Sané back there again. Not the tallest player, Sané, for a centre-back, but he makes up for it with anticipation and never looks panicked with his decision-making defensively or when he's on the ball. Yusuf Afif, excuse me, who's playing on that left wing. Sorry, I think I called out Afif, who's in the centre midfield, him his name a few times, but Yusuf, his brother on the far side, just getting a little knock. The referee will restart with a drop ball. More Yusuf Afif's late tackle that injured himself really there. But thankfully it looks like he's all okay. Kenny down the channel. Here's the skipper Rocker. Drives it in. Not a bad ball at all. And it's going to come to the far post to Purchase, who tried to hook it back in. Cleared out by Sané. Purchase unable to keep that in. It wasn't a bad ball at all in by Rocker. If another player had run into the penalty area down the centre, certainly had the pace to be redirected onto frame. Rocker again, who's beginning to pull the strings. Azuma looking for Denic. Sané first to the punch. Mohair will win Ajax's first corner of the evening. They're on back for international by Yusuf Afif. Swung in with a lot of pace. Philpott came out and punched it. Great decision by the keeper. Rocker will send it back wide, but the flag will go up against Jack. I think it's Jack Mohair over there. Oh, excuse me, actually, Nike. Azuma. Well crafted in ball by Azuma. Had lots of pace. Philpott did well to watch it. Travelled through a lot of bodies. Nashim with enough for a first minute, or Kelly even. Just past the quarter hour mark here at Fortuna Field. Decent chances at either end. International probably with the best one. Kuttner finding himself in a good area. 6 yards out, but just hesitated, and Timo Polo able to gather. Neither of these sides has kept a clean sheet this season, so that's certainly promising from a neutral perspective if you're hoping for some goals. And also, to be fair to both these teams, neither has been particularly shy of goals either. New York International have only failed to score in 3 out of 14 league games, and Nyack have only failed to score in 2 out of 13. And more defensive problems that have put both these teams in the situations they're in. Here comes New York International on the charge. Oh, it's glorious! Lea Vettel with a peach of a strike. First blood to the Lions. Matthew Lea Vettel with his first goal for New York International. He teased his defender, cut onto his left foot, and beautifully bent it past the outstretched Dimopoulos. Super straight there by Lea Vettel. And as things stand, the bottom half, let's just see how this attack develops. But Ferrer cutting back and it goes back. So as things stand, with the Zoom Snyder and New York International winning, International going up to 17 points, so should surely be enough to secure their safety. Zoom Snyder will be up on 12, Vistula on 13, Central Park Rangers on 8, and New York Athletic Club will be staying at the bottom on 6. Driven in. So you would perhaps be starting to look at it being a clash between the bottom two, as the flag's going to go up against Denic, who has not been terrific at watching the line so far. He's been offside a few times. Vistula, of course, snatching a shot victory against the Pan Cyprians last weekend, and historically they have always been stronger in spring. And they were certainly on evidence at St John's. They put in a magnificent performance to beat the Pan Cyprians. Certainly was no fluke. They defended well in the second half, certainly, and 2 high quality goals. Ferrer. Kelly. It's had a Afif. To use of Afif. Look for a clever outside the football to find the galloping Eric Anderson. He was cut out before it could reach him. Hashim. Rocker, ranging pass to Salzburg, too much on it. And when you look at the lineup that Nyack have this evening, it's hard to believe they do only have 6 points to their name. There's plenty of quality on their proven quality. Rocker, former pro. Ferrer and Mohair, former Lansdowne players who started regularly with that team and still certainly have plenty of their playing powers. Azuma as well, regular APSL technician. But things have not clicked for them, and too often they've let the key moments in tight matches go against them. But they do have plenty of time here to turn this one around. And guys, a quick reminder, today's broadcast is sponsored by Umbro Premier. You can head to umbroteam.com to start designing your team kit for free now. Produced by Umbro, designed and worn by you. Denic holding it up well there. And then crumpling on the floor. Play is going to continue for Nyack. Goes out for a throw. Denic back to his feet. Didn't see what the contact was, but I could hear the howl from here. Mohair. Rain is just starting to come down here. At least it's not snow. I think we can all agree on that. Rocker. Kenny. For Kelly. Azuma. That's a smart ball towards Salzburg, sends it back across. Stevens was able to intercept. Beautiful crossfield ball to Salzburg. And that's a super tackle by Kenny. Azuma retains with the ball for Athletic Club. Rocker. He's got brought down very clumsily there by John Stevens. I think has actually come off a little worse for wear in that collision. The downpour that we were expecting has arrived, and that's going to certainly make for a slippier pitch. Tony Rocker is going to look to send in a tricky cross here. Good bend on it. Stevens got ahead on it. Acrobatic attempt. That wasn't successfully pulled off. I think it was Mulhare with the attempt. Got a bit off there with the angles. Mulhare again. Decent spell here for Nyack. Had most of the ball since Leia Patel bent it in gracefully for international. Zuma. Farah. Rocker. Kelly. Rocker. Searching crossfield once more. Well watched by Saul. Zuma. Mulhare. Purchase. Back to Mike Azuma once more. Tenado watching and clearing the lines. Eric Anderson turning Rocker. Oh, it's just what international needed, just some composure to hold possession, and it may turn into more now. Yusuf Afif. Got some friends with him. He may go for himself here. Afif caught it decently. I think that came off of the back of Cutner. Big centre force taking it manfully. It was offside. Would have been interesting to see the final destination of that hit by Afif. Rocker consistently dropping into that pocket between the midfield and defence, and New York International have got to watch that. Do not want a player of Rocker's quality turning and driving at your back line. Sent in towards Denich. Sané clearing the lines. Anderson. Oh, Linfield, excuse me, there's Anderson. Tanada. Anderson again. Little sloppy there by John Stevens. Fair. Mulhare. Wriggling away from a couple of black shirts, and then that was a foot left in unnecessarily by Saul, and a good crossing position here. For Nyack. But all of New York Athletic Club's set pieces have been threatening thus far. It's going to be Rocker again to serve it up with that left foot. And that's the commentator's curse right there. We're approaching the 30-minute mark here. There was a very even first 15 or so minutes. Leia Vettel with the goal. Just hang on a second, is Nemanja Denic, who is offside again, and his teammates are starting to lose patience with him, and so is Gary Philpott. You could probably hear wants a little bit more competitiveness in the 50-50s from his boys, as he generally does. The referee's just giving him a talking to. I trust YouTube's clever AI bots are scrubbing out all of Philpott's more decorative language. Andrew Salt. Heavy touch in the middle by Anderson. But after that sort of first 15-20 minutes, Nike have had most of the possession. Salzburg. And although it was certainly a sucker punch, their result last weekend, fighting back from 3-0 down, making it 3-3. And then losing late 4-3 to Zoom. At least they know they can come back from a significant margin. So this is a team that will invariably score. The question is, can they keep International from increasing the margin? Philpott is just going to drive this ball up the field. We'll go out for a back throw. Cutting it quick on the back of Ferrer. Loose ball goes to Dimopoulos. Shkreli. Barocca. Floats it over the top. The race is on between Salzburg and Philpott. Philpott lost that. Referee points to the spot. There was some contact there. Was it enough for a penalty? I'm not sure. Philpott certainly went all in as he charged out. Salzburg knew he just needed to get the touch, and there's no way that Philpott was going to be able to pull out from that. If Salzburg did get the ball first, and Gary Philpott protests his case, but Nyack have a golden opportunity to level here. So we enter the 33rd minute of play. Tony Rocker, the Nyack skipper, will take. Scored the last goal that they tucked home last weekend. That drew them level. Can he draw the Reds level once more? Rocker tucks it into the top corner. No mistakes. New York Athletic Club level. And there's also been some developments at Jack McManus Field. That would please both teams here. Leros are 2-1 up now. I said at the start of the evening, this is a day where a lot could change in the table, a 2-hour period where a lot could change in the bottom half of the table. And already we're seeing shifts and turns in both of these all-important matches. Rocker showing us quality with that penalty, absolutely no nerves, just total precision. Philpott could have guessed the right way and he would have been nowhere near that. Then it's brought down by Sané. And I don't think you can argue with the fact that Naik deserved that equaliser with how they've responded to going a goal down. Coach Christian having a word with the referee. Rocco once more to test this international defence. Philpott off his line aggressively once more. And then there's appeals for a handball. I think that's what they're appealing for, international. Not sure if it bounced up awkwardly, off of a New York international player, but the official's uninterested. Here's a Zuma. Naik feeling the momentum at the moment. Kenny. Salzburg. Hashim. Tony Rocca dictating the tempo in midfield. Wayward with that pass, but he is certainly pulling the strings in the midfield, and International have not had a response thus far to shut him down. Stevens, International looking a bit rattled. Loose by Stevens, Salzburg, Denic. Rocca is onside. Tony Rocca went for power at that near post. Didn't have the best angle in the world. Power was probably the only way he was going to beat Philpott. But over the crossbar this time from Rocca. There's a downpour here now. Joseph Fasina Field. Sané. I'll go all the way back to Vasilios Dimopoulos. Guys, a reminder, we're going to have more APSL action on Thursday night. Zoom Snyder will host Hoboken FC. Hoboken losing 3-1 against the Pancyprians today at Laurel Hill Park. A dent to their title aspirations. And a boost to the Pancyprians, who I keep saying are out of it when they drop points, but then the Greeks do. So I don't think the Pancyprians are entirely out of it yet. Here comes Yusuf Afif, wriggling and turning. One twist too many. But that'll be back live on YouTube on Thursday night on Game and Frame. And just give you an update with what our scores are at the moment. New York International on 15 points in 8th place. Vistula on 13 in 9th. Zoom Snyder sitting in 10th on 9 points. Central Park Rangers in 11th on 8. And New York Athletic Club at the bottom on 7 points. Very, very tight if this score holds between the bottom three, but still plenty of time for things to change. Poor throw-in. Kenny. Salafif. Levitel. Yusuf Afif. Back to Levitel. He hit one already, does it again! Over the crossbar this time. That would have been something. Beautifully bending one in with your left and then finding the top corner with your right. More fireworks at Jack McManus Field. Both teams have been showed red cards. So it's 2-1 Leros and both down to 10. Levitel. Wasn't a bad ball. But Linfield couldn't bring it under a spell. Perhaps that wet surface just taking it away from him. Here's Joti Salzburg. Drives it cross field. It's a good ball. Leighton Purchase. Rocker. And but Ferrer. Incisive pass. Kenate. Closed down by Tanada. Now continuing to control the flow of game here. Denic. Tanada dispossessing him. Couldn't break between the two red shirts. Afif will clear it temporarily for International. The Lions might just be looking forward to the half-time whistle. They've been largely penned into their half for the last 20 minutes. Azuma. That's a loose touch. Salzburg will retrieve it. Not a great pass by him. There, Vettel will bring it away. And Mohair putting a stop to the counter-attack. Sané. There, Vettel. Stevens. Eric Anderson. Playing Sané under pressure, and Sané's lost it. It's Tony Rocker! 2-1 to New York Athletic Club. It's a brace for Rocker, who smashed it past Philpott. He pickpocketed Sané, and before International knew what had hit them, the ball was already flashing past Philpott. And Nike have come back from behind in this first half. Tony Rocker powering it forwards. Can New York International get shaken into life? It's been a really poor spell for them, a punishing spell. Well, the rain is not dampening the entertainment here or at Jack McManus Field. This is why we love covering the APSL. Linfield. Well-timed tackle. Aisha Kelly. Tanada. Linfield. Half-hearted appeals for handball. May have come off of Ferrer's arms, but there's no way that would be given. It was point blank in his arm, not in a natural position. Here's Salzburg. Azuma. Not enough bend on the ball, and Philpott gathers. Anderson charges forward. Yusuf Afif. Like a little slow on the recovery here. No, excuse me. Unnecessarily offside there. Azuma. Mohair couldn't force his way down the right flank. It will be an athletic throw-in. Both squads have plenty of bench players to call on. I think 18 for both managers in the squad tonight. Hasn't always been the case, particularly for Nyack. There, Vettel up to Cutner. International getting the throw in. I think Nyack felt that had just been passed directly out by Linfield, or Cutner even, excuse me. Kelly. Dimo Polis only able to put out for a throw-in. Final minute of a thoroughly entertaining half. That's what we've just been told by the referee. Linfield. There, Vettel tackled fairly, the referee felt. And Rocco will bring it out for perhaps one last attack for Nyack. Red shirts are surging forwards. Salzburg, not good enough ball in. And Tanada just delayed a little too long, and Salzburg threw himself in. Good duel between those two there. And then Salzburg is going to buy himself a very soft free kick. And we may see a yellow card here to Lea Vettel for dissent. He was unhappy he didn't get the free kick at the other end. This will probably be the final action of the half. Salzburg whips it in, headed at the near post by Afif, but it's back again with Salzburg. Mohair towards the far post. Denic was there to meet it, but the flag up into the hands of Philpott. In any case, still play goes on. I thought the referee's going to blow. He has a look at his watch. Yusuf Afif. So just pops it forwards. Lea Vettel skipping in brilliantly. Yusuf Afif. A chance here late. Oh, what a critical touch by Kelly, just to take off the toe of Cutner in the final action of this first half. You can see Cutner already unwinding for the first time shot, and just the slightest touch by Kelly taking it away from him. And New York International took the lead early. Brilliant goal by Lea Vettel. Rocker equalising from the spot and then pickpocketing Sané and firing it past Philpott to flip the game on its head. And last I heard, same story at Jack McManus Field. Zoom Snyder with an early goal, and Leros have come back from 1-0 down. Actually, that's 3-1 now, so Leros have taken control at Jack McManus Field, which is good news for the rest of the teams in the bottom half of the table. I want to see Zoom drop those points. So as things hold, New York Athletic Club will escape the automatic relegation spot. They'll go into the 11th spot where they could potentially face a relegation playoff. They'll be level on points with Zoom, who have the tiebreaker against them. Vistula on 13 and International sitting on 14. But still lots of football left to play. Don't need to tell you guys, do not tune out. This story is only half written. See you in a few minutes.
From soccer fields across the USA to the legendary stadiums of Spain and Portugal, for 40 years, Petrobax has been the go-to expert for group travel to Spain and Portugal. We organize soccer group trips from start to finish, flights, hotels, transportation, and guided tours, all perfectly coordinated by our experienced team. Your trip can include attending La Liga and Portuguese Primeira Liga games, matches against local teams, pro training sessions, and even tournaments. As true experts in Spain and Portugal, we'll ensure you also experience the rich history, vibrant culture, and incredible food these countries are famous for. Celebrating 40 years of crafting unforgettable journeys to Spain and Portugal. Petrobax, your team, your passion, your trip to Spain and Portugal starts here.
My name is Austin Brummett. I'm a men's soccer player at San Diego State University and I play forward. The Salt Air Case helps block odor from my cleats when I'm driving in my car or when I'm keeping my cleats inside my house, so I don't have to worry about it stinking up my room. It helps me keep track of my cleats and my shin guards so I know that they're together and I don't have to worry about tracking them down or losing them or stressing out about where they are. I would definitely rock this, walking to the games, walking around to my trainings. And it's super helpful for travel. When I travel in the airport to go to away games, it's not going to stink up my backpack or stink up the plane where I'm sitting. Magnetic strip on the top is super easy to open to take my cleats out and to put my cleats back in. I think it's an essential part of my outfit for soccer and it helps keep all my stuff organized and stink-free.
A quality highlight reel is crucial for college and pro recruitment. A lot of services offer generic solutions, but at Game and Frame we know every player is unique and needs a personalised approach to win over coaches. Our process is simple. We work with any footage, and if you need help finding your best plays, we'll review games for you. Once we've finished, you'll have a reel you can upload to any recruitment platform. We've helped hundreds of players get the attention they deserve, including placements in Division 1 programs. Scan the QR code or email us for a free consultation and start the journey to maximize your recruitment potential. Hello everyone, welcome back to Joseph Fosina Field. Now, coming back from behind in that first half. Looks to me as if Alexandru Teodorescu has been sent on by coach Christian for international. I think Kuttner has been replaced. Just verify that shortly. Nike looking unchanged. Now, why would you change it? They performed well in that first half, particularly last 25 minutes or so. Controlled most of the possession, created good chances, and well worth their 2-1 lead. 2 changes by the looks of things. Freddie Atamangwe, who's a former Manhattan Celtic player when they were in the APSL. Sharp instincts in the box. Already got 1 goal to his name, Atamangwe. And by the looks of things, it's Teodorescu who is on that right flank, who's come on for Linfield. We'll just try and get a look at his number in a moment, but pretty sure that's him. Sané looking to atone for that error that gifted Rocco his second. There's a late touch off the ball against Yusuf Afif, referee blowing up. Driven force towards Teodorescu. Atamangwe. There's some contact off the ball. There was Saul who went down, a left back all the way up in the centre forward position. Yusuf Afif. Eric Anderson diagonal towards Teodorescu, who got a decent header there. Had to be inventive, was leaning backwards. Definitely adds a more physical dimension. Teodorescu coming on that right side. Driven up by Sané, looking for Yusuf Afif. Ball skipping off of the damp turf into the hands of Dimopoulos. Sané. A reminder that the last score we have from Chapman Mansfield, where Zoom is hosting Leros, is it's 3-1 to Leros. Both teams also down to 10 men. They kicked off at the same time as this contest at 7:30. Atamangwe on the turn. Sends it across the 6-yard box. Mohair ahead of Yusuf Afif and prevents it from going into his own net. He almost dribbled it along his goal line there, Mohair. The most unenviable position a defender could find themselves in, but dealt with it well. But Atamangwe already starting to make things happen. Clever footwork on left side by Saul. I think Anderson might have been looking to return it to him, or perhaps to Yusuf Afif. But a decent start to this second half by International. Sent forward by Rocker. Cleared out by Tanada. And there has been one change actually for New York Athletic Club. Just get a look at who's come on in a second, but I think Denich has been withdrawn. And it's Michael Soboff who's replaced him. Fired forwards Mohair with the header. Sprayed across to Tanada. More tempo from International, more tenacity early in this half, and that's going to be a free kick in a good position. Rocker scything down Tanada, and he's going to go into the book. Tanada still crumpled on a heap. That's certainly a cause for some concern. Looks like it's his right leg that's getting some attention here. Actually, no, I think it's his left. Rocker helping him to his feet. And we're going to have a change also for Nyack. I'm not sure who or why we've got that change. It's Purchase. Oh, it's Kene, the left back, who's off. Looked like he was moving gingerly, so both players getting hurt there. Chris Huacon, who's on, whipped in towards the far post. Metropolitan never looked particularly comfortable there. Palms it out, and it will be a corner kick for International. Dinked in. Metropolitan with a much more decisive bit of keeping there, punching it out well. Both keepers have generally opted to punch on those crosses, and probably prudent with how wet the ball is at this point. Tanada not exactly clearing the lines. Dinked forwards by Azuma. Couldn't find any of the red shirts that were streaming forwards. Sane. Anderson turns well. Ataman Guate. Whipped in by Saul. And the flag going up against Afif. And I'm not sure if Tanada is going to be able to continue here. He's back down on the ground on the far side. And Coach Christian may be forced to withdraw him. I think this will be the end of his evening. certainly good signs of life from the opening minutes of the second half by International. After the second best for much of the first period. But no goal to show so far, still plenty of time. Tornado will limp off. Just try and get a look at the number in a second who has replaced him. Cleared out by Salt. We're getting another change here for International. More hairs withdrawn. More hair off. And Malcolm Moreno and Ingo on. Salafif. Bit of space here for Ferrer. He finds Salzburg. Headed out by Stevens. Cut back to Sobov. Rocker. And there's a big gaping hole here in the far side of International's defence. Couldn't be exploited by Sobov. First time for a while, perhaps in this second half, that Mac have found decent possession in International's half. Rocker losing it, but not the right pass by Salafif. Salzburg put under heavy pressure, couldn't keep it. Anderson, Sané, Anderson turning. Shaped crossfield by Vermeulen, who's come on as well, somewhere in the break. Take the rescue. He's going to receive it here, looking to turn. Showed too much to Ferrer. And Ferrer winning it on the second attempt as well. Sobov. Lovely drilled ball to Yaheli Salzburg. He manages to ride the tackle and then was hauled down by Saul, who's going to find his name in the book, and there can be no complaints about that whatsoever. Thought he got that first tackle right, but somehow or other Salzburg managed to force his way through him and then left the legs flailing around Salzburg to entrap Salzburg, and we're going to get another change here for Nayek. My eyes don't deceive me, it was Azuma who's just made way. Rocker will conjure this up, swings it near post. Philpott spills it, and Nayak have a cushion. The wicked wet surface outfoxing Philpott. It's a bad error, nonetheless, for a keeper of his standard. And waiting to poach on it, the substitute Michael Soboff. Breathing room for Naiko. Excuse me, I think actually it was Nashim, the centre back, who tucked it home. And what a crucial victory this could be for Nayak, and International will find themselves sucked a little bit closer to the gravity at the bottom of the table, unless Atamam Gwait plucked away from him, and then there's a shove on the back by Rocker, as the referee saw. And this is a prime opportunity for a response by International right on the edge of the penalty area. Roshansky came on for Naikazuma. Sané and Yusuf Afif over the ball. And also finally able to see the right back was who came on for International. It's Frank Busso. Five in the wall for Dimopolis. Yusuf Afif and Sané will try and breach it. It's Sané. That's over the crossbar. Headed on by Salzburg, but International able to recover the ball. And the table could look very different in the next few weeks as well, with the fixtures coming up in the bottom half. New York International will travel to, or host Zoom, actually I should say, on the 29th. And then they host Lansdowne, and then they host CPR. So two of International's next three games against the bottom three. And if they can't pull at least a point out of tonight, then we think they probably need to win one of those two to really give themselves some breathing room again. Set forwards towards Soboff, well read by Vermeulen, but not well cleared. Hooked in the direction of Roshansky. Rocker out wide. Sprayed out wide. Benengo. Well dealt with by Saul. And Nayaka, as we just go into as well, the fixture that Nayaka have got not quite so appetising for them. Away against the Greeks next. and then against CPR, which they will certainly view as winnable with the form CPR, and then they host Laos, which will be a tricky one, no doubt about that. Rocker to serve it up once more. Not a bad ball by Rocker once again, but no one really committed to charge onto that. Philpott waited for it. I think there was an opportunity there, honestly. Taylor Rescue looking to help it on to Ashimem Gwait. Those two not on the same wavelength. Beningo, Purchase, returns it to him. Last pass off. Rosansky. Sané. Afif. Couldn't break through the midfield there, Afif. Ferrer. Fourth would surely put this to bed for Nyack. 25 minutes remaining here. Nyack trailing 20 or so minutes into the contest. Flipping it around to 2-1 at half time with a Tony Rocker brace. Two very well taken goals in their own respect. And then Nashim capitalising on a Philpott error to give the cushion. It's driven low towards Philpott, who spilt it again. It's taken away by Purchase. Wonder he could have left that to Soboff. Oh, that's a huge let-off for Philpott, who is really having a testing time with the wet surface. Rain has finally subsided in its intensity. We're getting a light dusting now of it. But for a good hour or so, coming down with some ferocity, sent towards the near post. Philpott this time able to keep to himself. Even with this lead, Nike will not count their eggs as hatched at all. They've conceded so many goals in the last half an hour, and in all their defeats against the other bottom four sides, the goals have come in the 30th minute or later to snatch away points from them. But they're playing with a good flow. The Travers Island side. Beningo fires it in to Soboff, who controlled it well. Ferrer. Nashim to Shukeli. Salzburg driving inside. Sané with a well-timed tackle. Salzburg got a little knock to the head in the afterwards of that tackle, and the referee has to follow the rules of the game, with it being a potential head injury. And both teams are going to make a change here. So it's like Stevens is going to be taken off. There's going to be a bunch of positional switching here for International. Vermeulen's going to go back into centre defence. And it's Ridwan Alawin who scored an equalising goal. Against Nyack in the last meeting. And Alawin is going to come onto that right side, so certainly an attacking addition. I think Coach Christian might be playing with two up front now. It looks like Teddy Rescue has gone central alongside Atamem Gwait. Perhaps a back three. Anderson caught in it, but able to keep possession. That's a clever ball behind by Saul. Yusuf Afif. Taylor rescue. Closed down. Busso. Taylor rescue again. And Nayak survive. Anderson. Coach Christian urging International to raise the tempo. Asamem Gwait. In towards Taylor rescue. Dimopolis with a big shout and out to gather. Coach Christian under no illusions about the importance of this game. Talking to him briefly before the match, and he felt if they could win tonight, it would just about secure International's survival in their inaugural season in the APSL after promotion. Dinked force towards Asamem Gwait. And here's Frank Busso! Dimopolis palms it around the post. Decent stop there by the keeper. Caught with some pace by Busso. Comfortable height for Dimopolis, but still had to make sure he got it away from the danger area. Coach Christian, knowing victory would take International probably safe from relegation for the season, but defeat pulls them back into the mix. Whipped in with pace to rescue that front post. Didn't connect properly with the header. Historically, we've seen teams need about 20 points to survive in the APSL. Could possibly be a lower tally this season, just looking at Zoom and CPR currently at the bottom, and Nayak, but you never know. Last season, Richmond, Vistula, Kid Super, Doxa, who were all there towards the end, had good runs of results in the final period to get themselves towards that 20-point tally. Although Nike have survived one or two scares in this second half, I think that save by Dimopolis a minute ago is the only one he's made in this second half. It's been a few spells of threatening possession in the final third by International, but not enough shots on goal. 18 minutes left here. Vermeulen. Asamem Gwait. Taylor rescue. What can the big centre forwards do? Well marshalled by Shokeli. And cleared out by Huacom. Olowin, always a tricky customer. And guys, a reminder, we're going to have Zoom Snyder against Hoboken on Thursday night. Zoom, presuming they're still 3-1 down against Laos. I haven't heard anything else from our commentator down there, Diego Milan, tonight. Assuming that score holds, Zoom are really going to need some points. And Hoboken looking to respond after losing at home against the Pan Cyprians. Adventurous run forwards by their centre-back. Nesreem gets a throw in for his efforts. Not quite past that was needed for Nayak. There's Thomas Gutierrez, who's also just come on for Nayak. He's in that right wing position. He's replaced Leighton Purchase. Vasilios. Dimopoulos driving it forwards. That is a potentially very useful ball, but following there first at the expense of a corner kick. Just what Nayak needed. It's all about game management now. Given on at the 30-yard line. Very speculative effort from a long way out. Hey, here we come. Sané. Route 1 football. And too much on it. Rain beginning to come down with more force once more. Awkward bouncing ball and indecision by Sané. Salt coming to his aid. And I think he's got a little knock in the knee there, Salt. The referee's going to blow up. Whilst added delay, let me remind you guys today's broadcast is sponsored by Umbro Premier. You can head to umbroteam.com to start designing your team kit for free now. They've got brilliant tools up there. Produced by Umbro, designed and worn by you. And Afif has now gone down. Yusuf Afif, where he sat down for a second. He's going to be replaced, I think, shortly. Maloya's stripped down. Yusuf Afif is not moving properly at all. Looks like he's twinched something. Going for international, and Afif now I'm sure will be withdrawn for Malloy, and hopefully nothing too serious for Yusuf Afif. International certainly rely on him for a lot of their attacking product. Been so much positional switching for Coach Chris in the second half, and looks like Busso, who started right back, is now on the left wing. Malloy's gone into the centre of the park. Time is ticking for international. About 12 minutes remaining. We've got to find 2 goals to salvage the point, but Nayak will be so wary of the late goals after the pain of last weekend. Kelly getting enough on it. It will go out for a throw-in. Anderson. Afif. Vermeulen. It's to Sané. Whips it in towards Ted to rescue. Looks like it might come off a hand. Comes to Ted to rescue again. Sublime save by Dimopoulos. That was creeping its way into the near post, and Dimopoulos with an acrobatic save. A strong hand to tip it past the post. How crucial might that prove to be? New York International knocking on the door though. Sadafif whips it towards the near post. There's the hand by Dimopoulos once more. Who's appealing, I think, into it correctly at the ball. Already gone out. It's going to be a short corner this time. Ataman Guay. Oh, it's a really poor return pass. And now Nayak could punish international. Tony Rocco, who's on a hat-trick, don't forget. He's got Soblov racing up with him. It's Michael Soboff, who was offside and went for a Dennis Bergkamp-esque first touch. He pulled that off, to be fair, but not quite the volley to match the magnificent Dutchman's goal against Argentina. Although I have to also say, Bergkamp's volley back then was a much narrower angle. Vermeulen. Well watched. Meningo. Busso. Malloy. Afif. Busso's got there first. Has a low shot. Demopoulos down quickly. And he did really well to keep that to himself. Atamem Gray was on the prowl for any spills. Busso has been lively since coming on. That's a lovely touch there. Afif dinks it towards Ted Rescue. Beningo made an interception, and then Ted Rescue, who didn't know anything about it, to be fair to him, clattered late, and the referee awarding the free kick. Those are 3 important saves by Demopoulos in the last 5 or so minutes to keep this from being a very uncomfortable finale for Nyack. For now, they still have the 2-goal cushion. There's been a much better second half by International. Salzburg. Huakon. Rocker. Hashim. That wasn't a good pass down the channel for Salzburg. Sané. Ranging ball towards Asamem Gray. Those over the top balls that are really difficult to pull off with how wet the surface is. It's always going to skip towards the goalkeeper. Well, Leros have taken complete control, but just hang on a second. Here's Rozhansky. Soboff takes a deflection, goes wide. Philpott's left post, but just in the middle of saying Leros have taken complete control at Jack McMahon's field. They're now leading 5-1 against Zoom Snyder. So again, a reminder of how we're looking in the bottom 5 of the table. International 8th on 14 at the moment. Vistula on 13. Zoom Snyder on 9. Nyack on 9 as well. And Central Park Rangers at the bottom on 8. Ball's whipped in towards that near post. Connection wasn't there for the header by Naheem. Busso. Vermeulen searching towards Asamem Gray. There's a decent ball and it forced Trakeli to cut it out. Corner kick for International. Well, at least some of Coach Christian's subs, I think it's fair to say, made a good case for themselves to start next week. They've definitely raised the level of the performance. They've looked much more threatening going forwards. Curled in. Headed out at the expense of another corner kick. And I think there's the ball's gone into the woods behind the goal. Driven in by Sané, and Asamem Gray got a touch on it. That was a really big chance, he knows it. wasn't clean contact. If it was, certain goal. Nayak survive another scare. And they are close now. Can they finally end this miserable run of form? It's been 7 defeats on the bounce in the APSL. This victory would mean so much to them on so many levels. Rocker couldn't poke it into the path of the Ferret. Atamem great. Beningo, that's really loose. Busso couldn't make the most of the loose ball, and Demopolis is going to take a few seconds off the clock. Hurcon. Not quite the pass that Kelly would hope for, and Nasheem came over to try and help out centre back. He only made things worse. It's going to be a really needless corner from a Nayak perspective to concede. Only one man left back for International. Sane again to whip it in. Asamem Gwe again connects on it. Had to partially clear. That's for Kelly. Anderson, clever. Asamem Gwe. Malloy. Sure, Malloy, it did open up for him, but totally sliced the strike. Determined play by Salzburg. I imagine we'll get 3 or 4 minutes of stoppage time. We had a few injury delays here. Ferret, Rocker, Hurcon into Roshansky. Salzburg return it to Roshansky. Sane shepherding it back to Phil Pott. And Roshansky inadvertently toppling over Sane. Quick to offer his apologies. Here comes Malloy down the other end. Again, that long ball skipping off the turf into the grateful hands of Demopolis. Salzburg looking crossfield. That's a wonderful ball. It's Soboff. Sells the dummy and look to set it back, but no one there to apply the finish. Busso cleared to rescue, looking to help on Atamem Gwe. Set out by Shukreli. Rocker. Roshansky. Gutierrez. Just happy to keep possession and run more time off the clock. Beningo. It's loose again by Beningo, and there's a gap in the defence. Not a good enough pass by Busso. Good tackle by Rocker. Ferrer, and the flag will go off against Soboff. So, unconvincing pass. Rocker. Floated up. Roshansky to Salzburg. Olowin with him. Been very quiet since coming on, Olowin. Hasn't seen much of the ball. Malloy wresting the ball back. for International. Cleverly done by Anderson. Again, it's the ball over the top. International searching for, just trying to play the percentages. Atamangwe's won it back. Teja rescue. Buso. Well watched by Beningo. Rocker. Rosansky. In the final minute of normal time, Nyack finally ending a 7-game losing streak, it seems. And for a critical 3 points in their hopes of survival, this will take them off the bottom of the table. And CPR find themselves in the hot seat, and in the form CPR are in right now, you would perhaps worry that they are now the favourites to go down. They lost 6-0 against Richmond at Randall's Island earlier today. Although, to be fair to them, they gave the Pan Cyprians a run for their money. In the middle of the week, they did lead after 20 minutes and really should have doubled it. They had a very good one-on-one, but then the Pan Cyprians fought back from behind. Beningo. Gutierrez. That's a hospital ball there. Beningo, they're tapping out initially. It's Freddie Atamangwe onto his right foot, took a deflection. Dimopolis was backpedaling, watching anxiously. Ended up being well over the crossbar. Corner kick for International. They have thrown the kitchen sink at Nyack. Dimopolis has made some good saves. A few chances that just needed a bit more clinical finishing. Could get a consolation goal here towards the near post. Dimopolis taking no chances, punching it out. Sane back in. That's not a good ball. Rocker. Rosansky. Switch it to Gutierrez. Beningo. Rosansky. And Rosansky getting the foul. And then a little bit of afters between him and Sadafif. Gutierrez receiving it from Beningo. Rosansky, Ferrer. Again, just looking to possess, take the heat out of this one until Ferrer sucked in behind. Can't imagine we're going to have more than a minute or two left here. This may actually be it. If we had a look at his watch. Driven forwards. Now Ream with the first header. Here's Olowin. Headed out by Strikelli. And Ferrer with the first touch on the ball. Rocker. Salzburg. Stopped by Vermeulen. Held down the line to no one in particular, but doesn't matter. New York Athletic Club have ended the rot. 7 games defeated in a row, but they have finally won. And with that victory, they take themselves off the bottom of the table. Leapfrog Central Park. And overall, very good night for New York Athletic Club, with the other bottom 3 losing. They've made up ground on them, and they've also made up ground on International, who still have some breathing room. They're 6 points above Central Park Rangers in the guaranteed relegation spot, and 5 above Nyack and Zoom, who are tied on the potential relegation playoff. And that will occur if a team from two teams from the Garden State LSFL and CSL total, so two across all three of those divisions want to go up. Then there will be a relegation playoff too. But for now, Nyack with the victory that they needed. Very entertaining game throughout, lots of chances, open play, 3 goals of high quality in each in their own respect in the first half. International with a beautifully bended in strike by Vettel, and Tony Rocker with a nicely taken penalty, and then a rocket to make it 2-1 to Nyack going into the half-time whistle. And then the centre-back, Nashim, capitalising on a spill by Philpott off of a free kick, a Rocker free kick, so Rocker involved in all those goals for Nyack. And it was an easy tap-in for Nashim to put the result beyond International's reach. And they did bang on the door, to be fair to the Lions. Had the chances to come back, but some great saves by Dimopoulos, and Nyack rode their luck a little at times, but showed a bit more prudence as well than perhaps they have in other key moments of the season. Well guys, a big thank you to watching. A reminder, on Thursday night we're going to have more APSL action from the Metropolitan Conference. Zoom Snyder will host Hoboken FC. Again, pressure really on Zoom to get points, to lift themselves away from the relegation zone, and Hoboken also looking to solidify their spot in the playoffs after defeat against the Pan-Cyprians earlier today. But for now, thanks to Joshua Ajokru for doing great work behind the camera out here in the rain tonight with me. Thank you to the New York International for bringing us down here tonight. Thank you to our sponsor, Umbro Premier, and thank you to all of you for watching. This is Josh Pratt signing off from Joseph Faustina Field. Have a good night, everyone.